Hello, hello. Happy snowy Thursday, at least in Montreal. Bobby, can you hear me? Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Yes, yes, I can hear you, and indeed, very snowy day. I'm looking outside right now. I can barely see across the street.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking of an expression. It's not raining cats and dogs, but it's snowing lynxes and wolves, or something like that.
Yeah,
Right?
it's snowing something. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Well, it's nice to see a lot of new faces already joining in. So we'll let people trickle in slowly while we focus on our little weather update. I see Mahad is already there with Block 3 Finance. Mahad, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. How are you?
Awesome. Great, great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I hear you guys talk about the weather.
In typical Canadian fashion. For anyone who's not in Canada or anyone who's in the southern hemisphere, please, I guess, weather us because, yeah, what we have up here in Canada is can be crazy. Is it the same in Ontario, Ahmad?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wow.
I see a couple people that are outside of Canada here, so I'm sure they're laughing at us.
Yeah, yeah, it's fair
Mhm.
game. It's fair game. Awesome. Well, look, we're going to begin in a couple of seconds. A couple of shout outs. I see Kaz is with us, a familiar face, Beardo, Sustain Hash. Of course, Jerome Gauchi, who I got to meet in person last week in Toronto. Great to have you all here. And like I said, great to see a lot of new faces. This is episode 31 of Crypto Canadians. And today is a special episode called 2025 Crypto Tax Guide. And we're going to have a giveaway, which I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. But obviously, tax season is upon us. And, it's crypto taxes is not easy. It can, in fact, be quite burdensome. I'd say in good part because of a lack of clarity from our Canadian authorities. And perhaps it's the same in other parts of the world, but also because it's a recent and fast moving industry. And most investors to this space are quite new, at least many of them are, and still learning how to deal with this, taxes side of crypto. Probably not the funnest part for most of us. So today on Crypto Canadians, we've partnered with Block3 Finance. You just heard its founder, Mahad Mohamed. And we're going to cover many important issues from crypto tax basics to common mistakes to tax implications of DeFi, staking, mining. We'll talk about crypto for businesses. And we'll finish with some upcoming deadlines and tax strategies. So, really encourage you to stay from the beginning till the end, not least of which because of the content we're going to be discussing today and how much you can come out of this better prepared, but also because we will do a little giveaway. I'll tell you about this in about a minute. So I want to introduce Mahad. Mahad Mohamed is his full name. He's the founder and CEO of Block3 Finance and Tax Partners. He has over 24 years of experience in tax, accounting, and advisory services. So we're in really good hands. We've already had Mahad on Spaces a few months ago, and he was, very, very well received already. He has 9 years of experience in crypto and blockchain accounting specifically. So again, super, super useful. He specializes in tax compliance. Compliance is everything in crypto. We all know this, whether you're an individual or even more so if you're a business. It's all about compliance. You don't want to, get caught off guard. He also has experience with estate planning, financial management. So at the end of the day, everything he's going to share with us today, it's very, very valuable for all of us as we want to grow, as we want to prosper, of course, as well, and as we want to build our businesses. He has experience across multiple jurisdictions, Canada, of course, but also the UAE, where he worked for the Federal Tax Authority. He's worked for some of the big four accounting firms as well. And Block3 Finance specifically, you can guess from the name, focuses on crypto taxation, financial reporting, compliance for Web3 businesses, with a focus on Canada, but also on the US. And I know that many on Crypto Canadians are also Americans, and that's fine, even in light of recent events. We're still friends. We still welcome you warmly. Mahad, are you going to be ready for this? It's going to be all on you today. We're just going to be asking questions.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm prepared. Blow, that was the best introduction that I ever received. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, no, that's well deserved too. So, listen,
Mhm.
folks, there is a giveaway attached to this to this Crypto Canadians episode, and so I want you to listen carefully because you got great value here. It's kind of like a freemium offering. You're going to get a free deal, and then we're going to have 3 winners who are going to get even more. So first off, everybody in this space can get a free $150 consultation with Mahad and with his team. That's for everyone in the room. Mahad, do you mind reminding us how people have to do that? And I think we're going to share some links as well in the comments to our pinned post, where you can just hit the link, and then I think Mahad has a code for us as well.
So if you're interested in a free consultation, normally we don't offer a free consultation, but if you go to our website, block3finance.com, and send us an email at inquiry@block3finance.com, we're just put in the code blockchain north, and we'll be happy to give you that 30-minute free consultation appointment.
That is awesome.
And we can answer all your questions in this meeting.
Great. Any questions that hasn't been answered today, but maybe something personal. Maybe you have a startup. Maybe you are, a new investor and you don't even know where to begin. Taxes are going to be in a few months, and you just want to know, maybe he can share a couple of tips that are personal to you. So that's step number 1. Free consultation worth $150 to everyone. You can go to Block3 Finance to its website, and you can also find the link to his calendar as well as the code in our pinned tweet. Okay, so go check that out. And if you retweet that pinned tweet, we will choose 3 winners at the end of the call who will get a $300 credit for any service at Block3 Finance. So imagine that. Now you're getting $300 of basically free services for you at Block3 Finance, and go even deeper into your specific situation. So do us a favor. We're going to start in a second. Just go and like and retweet our pinned tweet right now. We want to bring as many people as possible in this room. It's a really important conversation for everyone in Canada and beyond. So please retweet our pinned tweet right now, and we're going to get started immediately. So let's start with the basics. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of simple things that perhaps we don't even think about. Whether it's Canada and the US, some of it is just applicable to both. So, Mahad, could you tell us in like maybe a minute, 2 minutes, let's say, so we can get going with the rest of our questions? How is crypto actually taxed in Canada? What is the sort of classification for assets like Bitcoin or meme coins or whatever else? And are there any notable differences between Canada and the US?
Great segue to start, Flo. The Canada Revenue Agency, as well as the IRS, if you're in the US, I see some of our clients that are from the US that are on the space.
Yeah.
The treatment of cryptocurrency is property, meaning that when you buy and sell or exchange, it counts as a taxable event. Typically results in either capital gain or loss, or it could be argued as an ordinary income if you're a trader. So that's how it's taxed. Now, Canada and the US define crypto and meme coins, and we'll get into staking later, but cryptocurrency as a property. But in Japan, it's treated as miscellaneous income. The UK is treated as a chargeable asset. So it's important to understand the jurisdiction that you're in and how these treatment of those assets are classified and taxed.
Okay, super clear. Okay, we've covered that. We're gonna go quite quick in the beginning, and then some of the questions will warrant longer answers, I'm sure. Here's maybe a misnomer. I think I know the answer, but I'm not 100% sure myself. A lot of people assume that if they don't cash out their crypto currencies, their crypto assets to fiat, in other words, if they don't sell their cryptos for dollars, they don't owe any tax. Something along the lines of unrealized gains, I believe. Can you clear this up, and what actually counts as a so-called taxable event? That's a real jargon term here in crypto.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem too, right? There's a lot of jargon in
that is. And back in 2010, when Canada Revenue Agency was writing how they're going to tax crypto, at that time there was only Bitcoin, and Bitcoin then forked to Litecoin, and so forth and so forth. Fortunately, I've been in crypto since 2011, and I've seen the trend that has moved so many times. But when you don't cash out of crypto, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a taxable event. You have taxable event in 3 instances. So the first one is crypto to crypto, so a coin to a coin. USDT and USDC is considered a coin based on the definition of a legal tender.
Okay.
The second one is when you sell a crypto to a fiat to any sort of legal tender. And then the third one is when you do fiat to crypto. The initial on-ramp from fiat to crypto, that's not a taxable event, but you're creating a taxable event, in terms of calculating your adjusted cost base, also known as the ACB or the book value, right?
Okay. Wow. Very, very clear again. 3 categories. I hope you guys are taking notes. And by the way, we're also going to be producing videos. So I'll mention this in more detail at the end of this call, but we will produce content that you can then also, watch, at your leisure and keep for your record, because some of this, might fly above your head. It might fly above mine as well, to be honest.
And Flo,
Yeah.
sorry, if I just want to add one more thing.
Uh-huh.
I was having a discussion this with one of my employee, Rui, yesterday when I was at the other office. And at the moment, and this is something, it's going to get technical, but I want you to follow me, okay?
Okay.
So let's just say that you have 1 kilogram of gold and you
I
take it to
wish.
TD Bank, right? And you take it to TD
Yeah.
Bank. And then all of a sudden, you don't like TD Bank, but they've been charging you custody fees for that, that 1 kilo of gold. You don't like TD, then you took that 1 kilogram of gold and you went to Bank of Montreal. And then Bank of Montreal received the 1 kilogram of gold. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with BMO, Bank of Montreal, they're now charging you fees, custody fees. Now, the argument that I always have with lawyers and with accountants and with clients is that when a client, and this is the argument that I always position to the client, if you on-ramped, let's say 1 Bitcoin on CoinSquare, okay,
Yeah.
a crypto exchange, and then you don't like CoinSquare and all, or in fact, you wanted to put it in your ledger. So you move that 1 Bitcoin from CoinSquare to, let's say, a ledger, a nano ledger, and all of a sudden, CoinSquare charged you a fee, and then moving that transaction, you paid a fee. Now, you didn't create a taxable event.
Okay.
Okay, that's very important to know. So from using CoinSquare to your nano ledger, you didn't create a taxable event. All you did was that you transferred your property from one exchange to another. So under the GAAP rules, the accounting standards, and you're allowed to do that. But Canada Revenue initially were reviewing it as a taxable event until I started arguing with CRA and saying, no, 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 this is the situation. It's not a taxable event. And I've been able to.
Oh, Mahad, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear
Yeah, we
me?
hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been arguing a lot of cases with the CRA auditors by saying, no, he moved it from his centralized exchange to a nano ledger. It's not a taxable event. So that's something that's very important for the community to know. And when you're looking at those and when you're doing your record keeping, it's important to share that information. Crypto softwares, they don't do a good,
Job.
they don't do a good job in tracking that information and sharing that information. So only an accountant has been able to catch that.
Okay.
So I just wanted
Great,
to add to
great,
that, Flow.
great insight. Great insights there. I wanted to maybe just ask one clarifying question, and again, maybe without getting too technical. But then, if you're being charged fees to move from one exchange to another, or if you're paying transaction fees, does that, let's say, reduce your cost basis? Is that something that you have as an expense if you're considered like a trader? How exactly are those transaction fees accounted for when you're kind of just moving, let's say, from one platform to another without actually selling anything?
I knew you were going to ask this question, Bobby. I don't know, for some reason. So all you're doing by you paying a fee from one exchange to your nano ledger, you're increasing your ACB. You're increasing your adjusted
Right.
cost base if you are an investor. If you're a trader, you're basically claiming that fee as an expense. So I hope
Yeah.
that clarifies it.
Yes, absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
That was
Okay.
Bobby Barone, by the way, speaking behind our Blockchain North channel. He's our senior director and our crypto expert. He also helped with preparing the questions for today. So yeah, shout out to you, Bobby. And by the way, Bobby will be handling the DeFi, the staking, the mining series of questions on this call in about 10, 15 minutes. So Mahad, another question that may come up, is if anybody is trading, let's say more than a few times a month, or maybe even every week, and in some cases every day, that's a lot of transactions that can pile up really, really fast, and especially if people are using DeFi as well. What's the best way for people to keep track of everything so that when tax season comes, and I mean, a lot of us procrastinate, of course, that it doesn't become a nightmare.
Um, the best way to do that flow is by using Excel, right? Unfortunately, the old-fashioned way always works. Excel is the best method. The other method is not to dabble in too many exchanges. And when you do that, you tend to forget what exchange that you used in March when you get to December, or you're trying to remember where things move. We do a good job by tracking on chain to figure out if there is a wallet or an exchange missing. But if you are a day trader, it's important to write down the exchanges that you've used throughout the year, so that way that when you are providing it to us, and when you're providing the CSV file to us, that we're able to obtain that information from you properly.
Okay.
So Excel is the only mechanics at the moment that
Excel, or let's call
answers
it
that
Google
question.
spreadsheet. I feel like
Yeah, Google
Excel
spreadsheet
is
too. Yeah.
like so old school nowadays. But we
Mhm.
understand, of course, what you're saying. Just a quick a pause here on the questions. I noticed one thing. There's almost 50 of us in this room. Like I said, a lot of new faces, and that's great. Make sure to follow Blockchain North, by the way, because we do this every week, every Thursday at noon, Crypto Canadians. I also noticed that we only have 10 retweets of our pinned tweet. And so there's 30 or 40 of you in the room who are not participating in our giveaway. You'll still get the free consultation, but you can win a $300 credit with Block3 Finance. So make sure to go and retweet our pinned tweet right now. It says giveaway alert at the very top. Very easy, take you 2 seconds. We want to have as many people as possible, getting access to these insights. So please go and reshare our pinned tweet right now. We appreciate that a lot. Back to the questions. Another logical question that follows the previous one about, let's say, more active traders is, if someone has actually been trading for years, and even if they're not a day trader, but they've incurred a lot of transactions and a lot of taxable events basically over several years, and they just did not do anything about tax up until now. What can they do? Are they in a lot of trouble? Is there a way to fix it without getting into too much additional trouble?
So in answering that question, you can claim losses, of course, or gains. But if it's a losses, you can go back, and adjust any of the past 7 years of your tax return.
Okay.
However, if you have a gain, flow, there are two options that are normally available to individuals in Canada, particularly.
Okay.
So, the first one is called a no-name disclosure, a voluntary disclosure. Okay, so I've done last year in 2024, I've done maybe 60 of them, with Celia, with Rui at our office, Payal. But in doing that, the no-name disclosure basically says there is a male, 41 years old. He has unreported income, and the total taxes payable is $420,000. There is this much in penalties and interest.
Mhm.
I would like you to waive it. And once CRA, I would like you to waive it. Once you waive it, then the individual will submit all these amended tax returns, and they will pay the principal of tax. Please forgive them for the penalties and interest.
Mhm.
Now, that is the best way of handling that case. So under the Income Tax Act, you're allowed to do that as a no-name disclosure through the voluntary disclosure process of the CRA, of the Income Tax Act. And that process goes through a lengthy procedures or lengthy steps. So CRA has been slow in this area and usually takes about 8 months to go through that process. The other option is that if the individual has a nominal or a small amount of gain, but lots of losses, then it's better to do the T1 adjustments and include an explanation of, why we're doing these adjustments. The individual was not aware of it. There was not proper education. The accountant that he or she were using is not trained in crypto, and so forth and so forth. But I would always say, have a good plan, have a good accountant, going back to what I've been saying before, and also being cognizant of understanding that not your keys, not your coins. So if you participated in holding through centralized exchanges and that centralized exchanges went down, a lot of people come to me and they complain and said, oh, Quadriga went down back then, or Celsius, or and Mount Gox now is paying back. So all these complaints that I've been getting over the years for those individuals claiming those losses, Canada Revenue has been able to accept them, and the carry back for those capital losses is 3 years. You can carry back those capital losses, and you can carry forward any capital losses indefinitely. So, one thing I always say, there will always be a bull run in crypto. So you can use those capital losses in the future by you participating in becoming a holder or an investor.
I love that. There will always be a bull run in crypto. That's great. We're going to shift gear to our second topic, which is common tax mistakes. In just a second, I just want to shout out a few people that I haven't shouted out yet. Jerry, Bitcoin Bay, Alex Collingborn. You were a bit late today. I've noticed that, but that's totally fine. And we're very happy to see you again. Diganja Baba, of course. I recognize Crypto Spartacus. I think I've seen you several times already now. So welcome to you. Randall. We've got Bearded Bob. So we've got Beardo and Bearded Bob. It's a bit of a bearded community that is following us here. But yeah, again, welcome everyone. Great to have you. Again, I noticed that we have, I think, 14 retweets and about 47 people in the room. So there's 33 people who are not interested in a free giveaway to learn about their crypto taxes. That is up to you. Before we proceed, someone has asked to speak. This is Crypto Goose. I'm going to assume that's a Canadian, although it doesn't say Canadian Goose. So I'm going to add him as a speaker now. Please keep your questions short and or your comments, and the floor is yours, Crypto Goose.
Hi everybody. Hi Mahad. How's it going? Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you well.
I can. Yeah, we hear you.
Great. So I have a question about staking or bonus rewards, if I could. And I wanted to understand a couple things. Right now, I understand that when my stake ends, it's treated as income, so I have to pay a one-time taxable event on that. However, if I sell that same amount of rewards in the future, I'm subject to capital gains in the future if the price went up from my adjusted cost base. So my question is twofold. One, aren't I paying taxes twice on the same rewards? And two, there's a famous case going on in the U.S. with the Tezos Group, where a family is suing about this interpretation of rewards being taxable event at the time they're entered into your wallet. And they use the example of a baker who bakes a loaf of bread, and the tax on the bread is not owed when the bread comes out of the oven, but rather when he sells it. So why isn't rewards treated like that as opposed to like a dividend or something in the real world?
Crypto Goose, that's a great question, and I'm very familiar with this family. I'm familiar with the bake example that they're using. The distinction between a loaf of bread and and a crypto, the definition is that crypto is classified as a property. Okay, so let's say that you had 10 Ethereum and you stake that 10 Ethereum. you still have that 10 Ethereum. However, what the exchange or what the ledger or the where you participated, the decentralized, what they did was that they gave you extra for you staking it. That extra is considered a passive income. So it's not double taxation. What it is that because you received extra and you don't have an ACB, CRA classified staking or crypto rewards, as dividend or interest income. Particularly, CRA recently have been classifying it as interest income. So it has to go on your tax return and pay your marginal rate of taxes. That is very important. Then what you've done afterwards is that you've taken, after you paid the initial taxes as an interest income, you went ahead and you became an investor of that additional. Now, then capital gain applies. So that your interpretation or your definition is correct. And this is the same example where about 2 years ago, I wrote to the CRA rulings department. And the rulings department basically says if an employee receives USDT, for conducting services, now they're receiving payroll. And let's just say that they receive $10,000 USDT and they stake that. I asked interpretation from the CRA, the ruling department, and CRA's definition is correct, while the IRS is, and this is something that I've noticed with Trump appointees. He has a good lineup. And yesterday or a couple of days ago, Carolyn Pham, who's now the acting CFTC chair, appointed CFTC chair, I should say. She's also made several interpretation of the same, same as CRA. So I feel like those definitions will be cleared in the upcoming years, per se. But I also agree where there is no clarifications, an accountant really doesn't have a way of answering those questions. This is why I've been using the CRA rulings department in terms of making sure that I have a clarification. So if I do make a decision and an auditor was to question it, then Crypto Goose, I will be able to answer your questions and so forth. If the auditor is questioning those, I hope I was able to clarify and answer your question. Sorry that I was too detailed, but this is an area that is required, to be elaborated on.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add a follow-up. Although Mahad, I understand, and working with you in the past couple of years, you're one of the great proponents of kind of arguing and fighting back the CRA. But my question is, how come as an industry, more accountants aren't fighting back, especially now with an industry that is so new and the rules are not even set out? How come more people are not defending the crypto user and they're defending the government with these tax rulings? I mean, I can accept your answer and make sense, but I still would like somehow somebody out there pressing the government for more lenient rulings. And obviously, a tax government is not going to be lenient for us. But who's representing us, the user, on these tax rulings?
Mhm. I don't want to talk ill of others, but I would say to you, there are 700,000 accountants in Canada, but there are only 2 accountants that specialize in crypto. So that means there's more work for me, and I've partnered and I've argued for so many clients. So maybe I should be appointed as the crypto czar with Bobby. So when that question comes up later on, you can vote for me as your nominee for the crypto czar. I'll be happy to work with David Sachs and others.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I certainly think you're doing a great job in fighting and representing the users. May I
We
ask
appreciate.
one more
Sorry,
question, and
sorry,
then
they're gonna.
I don't want to
Sorry,
hog the mic.
I'm gonna interrupt Crypto Goose. Sorry, I appreciate your questions, but we are not even halfway our question lines, and we have only about 30-40 minutes to go. So for now, if you don't mind, and for everyone else who has questions, we're gonna keep them for the end of the call because we're likely gonna be answering a lot of these questions Anyway, so let's continue with Mahad right now. The next thing we want to talk about is common tax mistakes, and I think that is something that, some of the topics are maybe a bit more like niche and specific to only some of you on the call, but I think common tax mistakes that can apply to everyone. So I really want to ask that question. So what are those common tax mistakes that you see? At least the most prominent ones, the most common ones, perhaps the most serious ones, Mahad. And I'm wondering, with that, do you have any funny story to share? Because I mean, what's the best way to deliver this message than with a story?
I would. There is no shortcut to this, and I would
Okay.
say that have a good accountant. Do your research. Do your research. Do your research. Understand. Back in 2011, when I was getting into crypto, I didn't quite understand what I was getting into, but there was no information that I could lean on that would give me a profound knowledge of, how crypto is taxed and whatnot. So I didn't go to university to learn how crypto accounting works. What I did was I started applying logic and trying to understand my 25 years experience as an accountant, how and why would CRA classify it as a property? And having worked for Canada Revenue before, and working for Big Four before, one of the things that I'm good at is research. And research always prevails that when you have a good accountant, they're able to confirm and clarify some of the things that you're looking for, and not relying on tax softwares. Earlier on the call, I talked about your 1 kilogram of gold from one place to the other is not taxable. So it's important to understand that the accountant that you're working with understands how staking works, how centralized works, how they're able to clarify crypto rewards using your credit card, understanding the T1135, the foreign property asset. Those are all important in terms of trying to have a good accountant that understands what you're trying to achieve and what your objectives are. So that's what I would say. And then the last thing is being cognizant of record keeping. Record keeping is very important in crypto, and knowing your seed phrases. You don't want to lose or be participating in something like Alex Machinsky's Celsius, or FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried and stuff like that. So it's important to know what you're getting into when you're doing those research.
Yeah, and
So
obviously
that's
you would
my
recommend also
that's my
only
answer.
trading on regulated platforms, right?
Exactly, like CoinSquare, like Kraken, those are top for Canadians.
Yeah.
So I'm able to ask you questions and you're able to get answers right away. Like Coinbase is not good when it comes to customer service. So stick to the best is what I
So
would
those
say.
two that you mentioned, CoinSquare and Kraken, you would say are the two best operating in Canada?
Yeah, for Canadians, yes. And if you're making a corporation as well, they're very good in terms of reporting and being compliant in working with your accountant as a
Okay,
representative.
well, that's very useful piece of information. I see that Fawaz is requested to speak, but Fawaz, just like with everyone else, what we're going to do here, just because we have a list of questions, we're going to take the questions at the end. I did notice as well in our pinned tweet that there are some questions as well. We are looking at those, and we'll try to integrate those and otherwise answer them at the end. So please bear with us. A reminder that if you want to win a $300 credit with Mahad and with Block3 Finance to go over your own personal situation and tax issues for crypto, you just have to retweet our pinned tweet. I think I see 16 retweets, and there's about 40 of us in the room. So there's many that are not involved in the draw yet, which will be at the end of the call. You have to be present at the end of the call, needless to say. So, Mahad, another question is, obviously no one wants to get audited, period, at all. I guess it can be quite stressful, even if you have nothing, you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to hide. But I guess it can be, stressful anyway. When it comes to crypto, what are specific things that make the CRA or the IRS, if you're in the US, really kind of take notice? What are some of the red flags for them in terms of a crypto investor's tax returns or lack thereof? But that's the most obvious red flag.
Yeah, and thanks for the question, Flo. Canada Revenue or IRS now, what they do is they receive your tax slips, your T4, your investment from the financial institutions and so forth. They don't know what other income that you're reporting. So typically, if you're reporting capital gains, CRA has recently updated Schedule 3, so you're able to classify what you're reporting. If it's a cryptocurrency, they have that section now.
Okay.
And when they do have that section, they've been auditing a lot as of late. And if you don't have a good accountant, when you do get audited, it's important that to understand what CRA is looking for. They're not looking for Coinly report. They will reject that. They're not looking for token tax report or coin ledger or trust finance or coin tracker. What they're looking for is the CSV files, and they are including in the audit letter about 6 to 37 pages of questionnaire, like, how much experience you have in crypto, how long have you been trading, who's advising you, like, what sort of, what do you trade, how do you trade, how do you come up with these, is someone helping you? Like, those are all the questions that CRA have been asking as of late. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want to understand, one, are you obligated, to be treated as a business? That's the real reason why they're asking. And then number two, if you're sending coin tracker and Coinly report, they're going to ask you for the CSV file. And the reason why they're asking you for the CSV file is that if you have unreported income, and you will never know what is reportable income or unreported income if you're trusting a tax software. So it's important to have a good accountant that would defend those issues and understand and explain those issues to the CRA in order to defend your position.
Kind of like you'd have a lawyer,
Um,
basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's super clear. I want to shout out as well a few people who recently have been, sharing some of Blockchain North's posts for spaces or otherwise, because we do appreciate that a lot. If I'm missing anybody, my apologies. I can't necessarily identify everyone, but memes away. I've seen you engage quite a bit lately, so I want to thank you for that, as well as D Ganja Baba, Jeremy Clark, you too, I think, and I just nice to see your name here again. Haven't seen you earlier on the call, but yeah, thanks again. And remember, you just have to retweet our pin tweet to win a potential $300 credit for service with Mahad and Block3 Finance. As you can tell, he has answers to every question so far. We haven't hit a roadblock yet. Mahad, we can't deny the fact that in the crypto space there are, quite a lot of failed projects, hacks, or even rug pulls. Any losses made through those events, are they tax deductible? And if so, how should people report them? And is there even like a grace period, or like, I mean, if that happened 3 years ago, can someone still go and report those losses?
Right. Those capital losses or those investment losses or those trading losses, once we distinguish what type of investor or trader you are, then you can carry back those capital losses 3 years and carry forward indefinite. So if at any point that you lost any, or you were part of a hack or rug pull, these days virtuals have a lot. I've had a lot of customers in that regard. Polymarket last year, a lot of people lost money when they were betting on, the election results and whatnot. So what you could do is that at any point over the last 7 years, you could file an adjustment to report any losses that you have or rug pulls that you were part of, or failed projects, and then you can claim those losses and carry forward indefinite. So those are the tax advantages in Canada that you can use it to your advantage.
Okay. Okay. A note to everyone in the room, because I can tell that there's been questions already. There's questions in our comments. We will take time to answer questions at the end if they haven't been answered already, of course. But yeah, make sure to stay till the end. We have a lot coming up still. We're going to be talking about DeFi staking and mining in more details in just a moment. I have one last question before we do that. At least before Bobby takes over. Are there any legal ways that you're aware of? So I emphasize the word legal, of course, to reduce the amount of tax someone would pay on their crypto gains? Mahad, are you still with us?
Sorry, I'm here. I said change your jurisdiction.
Ah,
Go to a tax-free country. There are so many of them. But if you're Canada forever, then you're Canada forever and you're going to pay the tax rate. But if you're participating or you're looking into a different jurisdiction, contact me. I'm not going to give you the menu. I'm going to ask you to tell me what jurisdictions that you're interested in, and I will tell you, the tax rate for those.
hmm.
Most recently, over the last 2 years, a lot of people have been going to Middle East, like UAE. Bermuda is a top one. Bahamas, Bahrain, Singapore, Malta, so depending on what or who you are, I will work with you and explain those jurisdictions that you can participate in.
Okay, that's a great opportunity to take that 30 minutes free consultation that we're offering. The link is in the comments to our pinned tweet to speak with Mahad and ask him those direct questions. And I'm sure privately he will share, details that perhaps aren't easily shareable on a public forum like this one. I actually have a follow-up question which pertains to me, but I think there are probably a lot of people on the calls on this call who are in the same situation. So I am a Canadian resident, which means I have a permanent residency card, a PR card, but I don't have a Canadian passport. I'm not a Canadian citizen. Let's say that I can't vote in Canada. Now, whether you're an individual or you're an entrepreneur, in my case, I operate as both. What would you say are some advice or tips that you would have to optimize your tax situation when you have, let's put it simply, that opportunity to perhaps have a bank account, in my case, in Europe, in other people's cases, maybe in other parts of the world or in Asia. Does that present unique opportunities when you have another passport than the Canadian one that are, of course, still legal by international standards?
In Canada, unfortunately, it's taxed based on resident. It's not taxed based on what passport that you hold. So if you, Flo, you reside in Canada, your tax rate would be subject to the Canadian tax rate. Now, if you wanted an option to exercise a foreign offshore bank account and a foreign corporation, that's a different story. What would happen is that you can definitely have a BVI corporation,
Yeah.
a BVI bank account, and we can transfer those assets that you have, those crypto assets, to that corporation, and the tax rate would stay within the BVI corporation because you transferred and sold all your assets to the BVI corporation. But because you're in Canada, you would be participating and only reporting the money that you receive as a resident. And however, you would be completing a form called T1135, which is the foreign asset reporting. But that form is only for information purposes. It's not for tax purposes. So that's a way for you to be able to reduce taxes from your crypto gains. Or if you're a day trader, having that corporation in BVI would eliminate zero tax rate to that corporation, but you can take advantage of you receiving a small amount of income by bringing it to Canada. That's all you'll pay taxes on.
Okay.
So those are things that I've done for several Canadians in the past. But again, Canada doesn't tax you based on citizenship. It taxes you based on resident and what you have as a person in Canada, Canadian jurisdiction and foreign jurisdiction.
Okay, super clear. I have to say you picked an island that I've always been fascinated about, or a set of islands, the BVIs, the British Virgin Islands. I used to be and still am kind of a fan of Richard Branson and his entrepreneurial journey, and he has Necker Island, I think, is in the BVIs. So from a young age, I've been a bit dreaming about going there one day. I'm going to hand it over to Bobby. Just before I do, a reminder, you can still enter our giveaway to win a $300 credit. It's not a tax credit, by the way. It's a credit, a dollar credit with Mahad and Block3 Finance for consultation. You could get personal attention. So make sure to go and retweet our pinned tweet and stay till the end. We'll draw amongst whoever is still on the call at that point. 3 winners for $300 of credit with Block3 Finance. Bobby, over to you for DeFi staking and mining.
Yes, Mahad. I'm excited to ask some of these questions because this is actually stuff that I've spoken about on spaces before. I've contemplated all of this with a bunch of my friends already. I've discussed this with accountants. I've called the CRA myself multiple times. So there's a ton of stuff that with regard to the DeFi space, staking, yield farming, NFTs, mining, etc. Taxation for these kinds of activities, for participating in that ecosystem, could be really confusing, really convoluted, and very often, from my experience, you could have tens of thousands of transactions for a net gain of, say, $5 or $10. That can happen, or even a loss. So DeFi is kind of like this gray area. People are kind of confused about it. So So if you could provide a little bit of like an overview. So if you're yield farming, if you're providing liquidity, or if you're, let's say, like earning rewards in the DeFi space, how does the CRA look at that from a tax perspective?
Mm-hmm. Bobby, welcome. I feel like I'm getting grilled from both you and Flo.
That's the
Grilled.
fun.
I'm getting
You're
drilled,
getting
but
barbecued.
yeah, no, I appreciate that question. And DeFi is something that gets messy, and when DeFi gets messy, I'm very familiar with Ultramix, Aave, Arc Lending, Compound, and so forth, and Uniswap and so forth. But I have to divide each category one by one. So if it's a yield farming, I would have to categorize yield farm, liquidity, earning rewards, and so forth. So by me dividing each category, then each has its own tax implications, right? Because sometimes individual mixes all of it into one. And when they do that, I have to look at the tax treatment. For example, earning rewards is considered dividend income. Okay. Yield farming, depending on the number of transactions, is either considered interest or it could be considered as business income. And mainly because there's a lot of fees with it as well. So this is how CRA has looked at it in the past. But as your accountant, one of the things that I will do is have those discussions with you to understand how you do those activities. So maybe you're doing a swap, maybe you're doing staking and so forth. So by me looking at it, I'm able to design the best solution for you as a client of Block3.
That makes total sense. Yeah. So there's not one answer. It really does depend on what specific activity you're doing, and if you're doing multiple, dividing those activities and really seeing what your obligations are with regard to each. So that makes a ton of sense to me. I actually want to go a little bit off script here, and this isn't necessarily going to be a question, but I have a few comments, and just from past experience with friends that I've had in the space, complaints that I've heard, etc. So for this example, right? I have multiple friends that were participating in the Wax blockchain, the ecosystem, which is basically like an NFT. Like it's a blockchain that was very popular for NFTs, and there were these NFT games where you can own these NFTs, and then every hour you would accumulate rewards based on these NFTs that you own. Those rewards were in the form of a token that was extremely volatile, and so you can see right away where people could have an issue with this. So if they're participating in this ecosystem, they're playing this game, let's say, and within the course of 1 month, they have 10,000 plus transactions. It's all very, very complicated. They're getting paid in a token that's extremely volatile. So, for example, you could be getting paid when the token is worth 1 cent, but then by the time you liquidate it, it's worth 1/10 of that, right? So there's that aspect. You're holding NFTs. I'm curious, from your experience, has there ever been anything comparable to this kind of situation with regards to taxation? And do you think that the way that it's currently set up, could that be a deterrence for people to participate in the DeFi ecosystem? Because I know that for myself personally, when I called CRA and I asked them about this, I was very lucky. I got a ton of help from some very, very helpful people, but they were even they were even surprised that people would even go through with doing something like this because of how complicated it would be to actually report all of this. So I'm curious what you think about situations like that, where you might be earning rewards in a very volatile token. You could be earning rewards as often as every 30 seconds, as often as every minute. And then are you expected to record every single transaction? And then how does that all work? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and whether you think maybe in the future, participation in these ecosystems like this could have their own framework, their own kind of guidance, very specific to the nature of what we're doing here in the blockchain DeFi ecosystem.
That itself, Bobby's handful. So first thing first, when you're doing such things like these, you're providing a service. So you need to understand that you're providing a service. So when Affinity Games and all these NFTs that you're speaking of, those wax, you're providing a service. And then in return of that service, you're getting paid rewards. You're getting paid in crypto. This is the definition of CRA. So I've written so many articles on Block3 website in regards to this topic. Now, Canada Revenue does not have a definition. So they will look at it from attribution table. So the first thing first, you're providing a service and you're getting paid in crypto. Now, how is that crypto taxed? Is how CRA will look at it. The tax rate is calculated at the time that you received, not at the end what you sold it as. So at the time that you received, let's say those wax tokens was $10,000. Okay. Then what you did was you sold it at $5,000. Now, what CRA would say is that, okay, this guy was providing a service. So this is a business income, the 10,000. And then that 10,000, he lost $5,000. Then that is a capital loss, right? So I have to differentiate from the story that you're telling into multiple categories in order to distinguish and define what the income tax act says. Now, is that interpretation correct? No, it's not. But is that how CRA would, when you do get audited, is that how CRA would report it? That's how CRA would definitely report it. And a lot of people, in addition to what you're saying, people have been taking their NFTs and using it as a, or sandbox. They were renting it or creating advertising income from digital land or renting NFTs. So that's another topic as well on top of what you're talking about. So this is the crypto, is the wild wild west. And as an accountant, I need to understand, what you talked about earlier, providing liquidity or yield farming, and any API earned might be considered as income. Then I have to look at crypto mining. Then I have to look at, the rewards maybe you're using on a credit card like Coinbase, or then I have to look at what you're renting on Sandbox. Then I have to look at the games that you play and the service that you provide, and you getting paid in different types of crypto. So it makes the job complicated, and it's not just, hey, I have a quick question. So this is why Canada Revenue, a lot of accountants are staying away from this space, because one, they don't understand it. Two, there's no clarity in terms of how an accountant is supposed to communicate with their client. And then for me, I have to break it down and try to understand what you're trying to say, and then talk to you about the different tax rates that might apply. And this is why I say it's just better to incorporate and do everything in the corporation, so that way that if you do get audited, you have a living corporation, and then I can make all those arguments in that living corporation, and it doesn't trail back to you as an individual, and they don't need to ask for your what Netflix are you paying with crypto.com, using Crow or stuff like that. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, yes, definitely. You more than answered it. Yeah, that's very, very helpful. I just on a personal level, I would love to see, like in the future, us having some kind of tools, some kind of way to enable people, to empower people to still want to participate in these kind of ecosystems, even knowing that, because right now the situation, as I look at it, and it has been a huge deterrence for me to participate, to the point that when I really looked into it, I ended up telling myself, I don't know if I want to bother with all of this, given how complicated this all is, and especially for people, that are doing this, trying to earn a few extra bucks here and there. It can be incredibly daunting, and especially knowing that you might have to pay more just to get your taxes done in a compliant way than you're even going to make on participating. So it is a very tough situation, and I'm really hoping that like in the future, with like AI tools, or with clear guidelines, etc., that we can kind of like open up this space a little more, and make it a little more accommodating. But I guess those are more personal opinions than they are questions.
Speaking,
Next
can
thing
I
I
jump in
wanted,
just 2 seconds? Just household
of course,
items
yeah.
here. So speaking of opening up this space, we're probably going to go quite a bit longer than usually. Mahad, if you have the time, because obviously we're getting questions in the comments. People are requesting to speak, and we still have maybe 5, 6 questions to go. Are you okay, Mahad, for time, or do you need to run out at any time?
No, I'm
You're
okay.
okay. Okay, so
I'm
for
okay for
everybody in
time.
the room, we're probably going to go another half an hour if needed, to really make sure that you have all your answers. This also means that people can still participate in the giveaway that we have right now. You can win $300 credit for basically time with Mahad, one-on-one, free consultation type of thing for up to $300. So all you have to do is go and retweet our pinned tweet. I see 21 folks have done that. There's 47 in the room, so there's a bunch of people who are not part of the giveaway yet. So just 2 seconds, give it a retweet, and then we're going to continue this conversation with Bobby. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So next topic that I wanted to touch on, something that I know a lot of people participate in as well, and would be curious about is mining. So crypto mining, that's a big one. So curious about how crypto mining is taxed in Canada. I'm also curious about whether it's different in Canada than it is in other jurisdictions. And sorry for this kind of three-part question, but you can tackle it however you like. How do they differentiate between what could be considered like hobby mining, or whether your mining operation is considered a business? And should you just like always structure it as a business, like you just alluded to, maybe?
Four-barreled question.
Yeah.
Good luck, Mahad.
I know.
We're gonna go till 8:30, folks. Sorry, PM.
Yeah, no, I told you Bobby should be the crypto czar of Canada. Like just the amount of knowledge that he has, there's a lot that I learned from him. But answering your four-part questions, Bobby, and I used to mine Zcash long time ago. And at that time, I was working full time and mining Zcash. Then whether you're doing it as a hobby or whether you're doing it as a business, CRA doesn't care. CRA only cares the fact that you're creating and participating and conducting a business. So as time evolved, Canada Revenue has gotten smarter and smarter and smarter in terms of asking the questions. Before it was just like, okay, you have another business, because whether you're working full time or whether you're doing this is running, creating the block rewards. So it's important to do it in a corporation. There's no such thing as hobby mining anymore. So everything is now considered a business mining. So long and short answer, create a corporation, mine, and then at that same time, your corporation is considered to be investment corporation. Then I can always reduce the investment corporation, maybe do 60% investment and 40% business in terms of mining, right? So you're able to claim those expenses that carries out with mining, like electricity, hardware, software, all these kind of gas, these accountant fees, all these things that you might, in the course of you running that business, that you would incur in terms of doing the mining business. Now, different countries have different rules when it comes to mining. For example, in Africa, we have about 4 clients that do Bitcoin mining in Botswana or Ethiopia or Mozambique and so forth. And hearing them and them receiving those mining rewards, and then having customers in Canada, HST comes into a play. Like, those hardwares that you bought, you paid HST. Now, do you get a HST refund and stuff like that? Those are some of the topics that I've challenged myself in terms of trying to get answers for them. But it's difficult because mining is considered a property. It's not yet considered, for you to be able to claim HST refunds as well on those hardware purchases that you purchase, and then take it to Ethiopia or Kenya or Mozambique or Botswana and so forth.
Very, very useful. Thank you. Yes, definitely. I appreciate those insights on mining. That's very useful. I do want to just maybe pivot a little bit to crypto for businesses. So if you are running a business, like you're saying, if you do open yourself up a corporation, let's say you want to accept crypto payments for your services. How would that affect your taxes? Do you have to be constantly tracking price fluctuations? Is there anything special that you need to know if you're going to be accepting crypto payments for your business?
So in 2024, to be precise, October 22, 2024, Canada Revenue issued an update in terms of accepting cryptocurrency as payments. Now, remember I said earlier on, cryptocurrency is treated as a property. So it's not, a security. So CRA said in their publication that if you conduct a business or service and you accept cryptocurrency as a payment for, and then it's going to be treated as a service. It's not going to be treated as a property. Now, how is it taxed? Let's say that if I did work and I received 1 Ethereum, taxes is calculated at the time that I received that Ethereum. Okay. So, and then if I use that Ethereum as an investment, then I would have capital gain. So that's how CRA has been able to, that's how CRA defined in terms of how you can accept cryptocurrency as a payment and how taxes would be implied at the fair market value at the time of the transaction, at the time that you received that service or conducted the service.
Super, super useful. I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, and it's the exact curveball that I threw to my accountant in 2017 when I was just starting off. So let's say you're a community manager, or you're providing a service to a crypto business, and they offer to pay, a part of your contract with their own token. So their own token at the time that you receive it might be worth zero because it's not listed. It might have some kind of value because it's listed somewhere. The depth, let's say, of the trading volume could be very, very low, to the point where if you were trying to liquidate those tokens, it would be impossible to retrieve the actual fair market value that you got when you received it, because let's say you're providing services to a smaller, lesser known crypto token project, right? So curious how you would approach something like that. Is there any way to kind of structure it, or really are you stuck when you receive those tokens, you just have to declare it at the fair market value, and then there's nothing really that you can do about it? You just have to kind of navigate that after when it comes to selling those tokens.
So this question, Bobby, CRA has gotten back to me in terms of income tax ruling.
Oh,
So
nice.
they say to me that, look, if you participate in an IPO, okay, let's say the IPO, the token was listed, you participated at $0, and then the IPO, the stock launched at $49. Now, your investment or your income that you received is at $49, and then if it went to $4, then you have a capital loss. Okay, so the TRA has gotten back to me in defining it as if you participated in an IPO. So to answer your question, when you were a community manager, you were providing a service, as I said earlier. And then if you received coins as a result of you providing that service, then whatever the launch of that coin, the price is what you received for that service. And then by you selling it to the open market, you conducted what's called an investment loss, a capital loss. So that's how CRA was able to define that interpretation to me back in 2021.
Very, very, very useful. Thank you. And I think that's something that's important to note for anyone who might be participating in this way in crypto, because I know that there are quite a bit of them. We see all the time people on this space who have on their profile community manager, marketing manager. They really want to support the NFT projects that they love, and they receive tokens or they receive some NFTs. I think that it's very important before you participate in this kind of thing to know exactly what you could be getting into. So that's super, super useful. Thank you so much. I wanted to also ask about if you're paying your employees or your contractors in crypto, what does a business owner need to be aware of from a tax standpoint to stay compliant, and to make it fair, to make it very, very, very efficient for the business as well as for the contractor or the employee?
So if you are in Ontario, or any province of Ontario or territory, Ministry of Labor says you need to have an employment contract. Okay, so that employee, the business owner and the employee need to have an employment contract. And then in the employment contract, it needs to be specified how you're paying that employee. If it's a salaried employee, then the expectation is how you're paying them. Let's say if you're paying them in Bitcoin, and then you have another employee that wants USDT, and then another employee that wants legal tender. So because you're making that choice to that employee to pick how they want to get paid, then at that point you have to sign up for a subscription. There are companies, let's say for example BitPay. Okay, BitPay basically, they onboard your employees, they onboard the business owner, and then the employee provides their profile onto BitPay, and then they create a profile based on what they want to receive. Okay, so if they said they want to receive in Bitcoin, then the business owner would wire the money to BitPay, and then BitPay would pay the employee every 2 weeks, and they would issue a pay stub. If you're in Canada, for example, right? So, and then BitPay will calculate how much taxes for payroll taxes to be remitted at the end of the month or the 15th of the month, and BitPay would go ahead and remit that payroll to the CRA. So there are services that are available to crypto companies. I've been lucky and fortunate enough to work with Cardano and Polkadot. In the beginning, before these companies were existent, I used to do and manage all their, the banking, the remitting, how many employees, where these employees are located, who's in Belgium, who's in Bahrain, who's this. It was a nightmare. But as crypto has evolved over time, it has made my job easier. And these companies do exist, whether if you are a one-man show or a big business or a small business, or even if you are a self-employed individual who wants to accept payments in crypto, you can sign up and do the KYC, and then they will give you a tax summary as well. Sorry that I answered in three parts, Bobby.
No, that's super useful. Shout out to BitPay and companies like it, that are enabling, that kind of adoption. It's yeah, much appreciated. So last question for myself regarding crypto for businesses. So if you're a company and you hold crypto on your balance sheet, is there anything that you need to know? Are there any best practices that you can follow to stay tax efficient? Do you have any tips and tricks for companies that want to like how strategy is doing, like how some governments are doing, to adopt some kind of a quote unquote strategic reserve and holding crypto on your balance sheet? Is there anything to take note of there?
Mhm. Um, have a good accountant. I keep stressing that. Let's talk about Tesla or MicroStrategy. So Tesla, the last earnings, it went up mainly because now they can put those BTCs that they've been holding on their balance sheet. So what that created is that it created them for them to be able to be at a surplus. Now, Canada, the Canadian government's, the CRA also has the same. So I've been putting those BTC holdings, those investments on their balance sheet. It strictly shows all their assets and liabilities. Now, it's important that if you have a corporation, or you're confused if should you set up a corporation, um, how much you want to hold in crypto, how to increase your net worth. The banks right now, when you're trying to get a mortgage, they don't want to discuss what cryptos that you hold, and they don't care when they're doing their risk assessments. But if you have a corporation and your corporation is buying a property, an accountant can say, this is the balance sheet. They don't need to know what you're holding, whether it's crypto or whether it's gold or whether it's money in the bank account. So they're able to allow you to buy properties in a corporation where they're looking at it on the balance sheet, and an accountant plays an instrumental role in making sure that you're able to buy the property or those assets that you want to buy, right? So that's what I would say in terms of understanding how to hold crypto on your balance sheet and the best practices in terms of staying compliant.
Super, super useful. And yes, I can indeed attest to that. If you are applying for a mortgage, the bank likely does not care how much crypto you hold. That is 100% true. They will say, okay, show me your pay stubs, please, and how
Yeah,
many debts and how many debts do you have? They don't want
exactly.
to hear about how much Bitcoin that you have. And I mean, hopefully that'll change in the future. But that's just kind of how it is right now. Yeah. So I mean that basically wraps up the questions that I had. I'll let Flo take over from here. I think he had a few more housekeeping things and maybe another question as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bobby. Well, I mean, the first housekeeping one is obvious, and some of you might be tired of hearing me say there's more people in the room than people who have shared our pin tweet. And why would you share our pin tweet? Because in the pin tweet, or sorry, by sharing it is what I meant, you will enter a draw. We will pick 3 people who will get a $300 credit for private consultation with Mahad and with Block3 Finance. That is, of course, if he hasn't already answered all your questions, because that's been pretty comprehensive today. But I mean, maybe you have something personal. Maybe it's something that you don't want to share publicly. Maybe it's something that is really, really unique to your situation. I think we all have these. So yeah, go and retweet our pin tweet if you haven't already. We're gonna draw the 3 winners in about 15 minutes. Okay. I only have one last question, very general, and then we're gonna take questions from you. So if you have them, you can start raising your hand again now, and we will go through them. So, Mahad, first off, thank you. I mean, I don't want to forget to say thank you, because this, first of all, your partnership through Block3 Finance on this, very popular episode, by the way. I mean, we have almost 50 people still in the room right now after over an hour during lunchtime on a weekday. So, that says a lot. Thank you for sharing your insights as well and answering all these questions very precisely, very clearly. Even if some of it might be flying over our heads a little bit. But that's why we're going to produce 3 videos, by the way, that you'll be able to watch and save and rewatch if you want. And then maybe we'll do more with Mahad. But clearly this topic is popular. So my question is, with the upcoming, first of all, what is the tax deadline for those who don't know it in Canada? I think it's soon, and I believe it's in April. And if you had 3 quick pieces of advice to give to crypto investors, things that they should do, consider, prepare for before that deadline in a few months. So what's the deadline, and your 3 best tips in maybe just a couple of minutes?
So tax deadline for personal taxes is April 30th. In Canada, if you're an individual, for the US is April 15th, but applying for an extension up to October 15th if you're residing in Canada as a US citizen. And if you have a corporation, and luckily last year I was able to help so many crypto investors. I created about 198 corporations and did Section 85 rollovers for them. It's 90 days from the year end. So if your year end, let's say, was December 31st, your deadline to file the tax return is June 30th. But if you have a balance owing, is March 31st. So the deadlines could be confusing, and it applies to different dates depending on your corporate year end, if you have a corporation. Now, 3 tips that I will share with you from an accountant perspective is, 1, stay up to date with what's happening with CRA. And the best way to do that, every day, my team at Block3 have committed to writing 2 articles on our website. So if you go to block3finance.com, go to resources and go to articles, you're able to read 2 articles related to accounting and tax. You're not going to find that anywhere else in the world. I can guarantee you that, because everybody's talking about XRP ETFs and whatnot. So I've committed to that. About 2 years ago, we've been writing every day for 2 articles. That's number 1. Number 2, do yourself a favor. Crypto is here to stay. I wasn't so sure back in 2011. 14 years ago when I was dabbling with crypto. But now today, I know that crypto is here to stay. And if you look at Donald Trump's lineup with, Paul Atkins and CFTC that I mentioned earlier, or Mark Uyeda, or Hector Pierce, who's now leading the tax force, these are good, amazing people, and they're gonna make crypto here to stay forever. So have an accountant that understands cryptocurrency, what you're looking to do, and making sure that you work with someone who understands staking income, multi-chain accounting, NFT accounting. It doesn't matter what you do. Everybody is different. There's so many categories within crypto. But having a good accountant is the best advice that I can give for number 2.
Would you say, sorry,
And then
quick
number
question, quick
3,
follow-up on that. Would you say it's, I mean, I'm guessing you're going to say yes, but could you explain how it's cost effective? Because it's not free to have an accountant. And for a small business or for individuals, if you're starting to rack up, thousands of dollars, even if it's annualized, would you say that, and are you able to say from what, let's say, asset valuation or level of prosperity, to put it differently, it would be cost effective, or is it cost effective for anybody?
Okay, that's a great question, Flo. And when you're looking at having a crypto accountant, we're not different than the traditional accountant in terms of price. So, for example, if you're doing your personal tax return, we're charging about $200 to start. Okay, so
That's reasonable, yeah.
what makes it difficult is the number of transactions, and the number of transactions. I spoke to a client this morning. He has 64 wallets. So if you
Oof.
have 64 wallets, it's a different
You
story.
better be
But
a
if
good
you
trader,
have,
right?
right, so he was actually a good
Okay.
trader.
You better
So I'm
be
surprised
making
by
money,
that.
is what I mean.
Right. And then, but what I want you to know is we're affordable and way better than relying on TurboTax or hiring your accountant and then coming to me and saying, Mahad, I just want you to do the crypto side. Having two accountants work on your file is not cost effective. So having a good accountant is, the
So you
best.
do both.
Second,
So you do both for
I,
clients.
I do both. So
Uh,
if you're a plumber and you're doing cryptocurrency, I will help you. I will do both. I will do everything
you'll
for you.
manage the plumbing for both. Yeah, something like that.
Not that, but I'll do the accounting
Okay,
side.
all right.
But the third thing that I will tell you is record keeping. Record keeping is very important. I often talk about if you're deceased, you want to have that executor access your wallets. Those are conversations that I've spoken to so many people about. Like if you're looking to buy a house, and your income is low, understanding those things are very important. Getting ahead of yourself, being proactive in what you want to do with crypto. Those are all things that I've spoken to so many people about in terms of helping them. So, record keeping, setting the expectation, what do you want, your accountant knowing what they want, and of course, staying up to date with what's happening in order to have a tax efficiency. Because it's not what you make, is what you keep. Because if you make $1 million and you're paying 53% to the CRA, you're not keeping everything, you're paying more. So those are things that I would leave you with in terms of understanding the advices that I can share with
Those
you.
are great. Those are great. Yeah. So stay aware of what the CRA is doing. Have a good accountant, a crypto accountant. I mean, basically, there's only two in Canada, apparently. So hint, hint. You've got one on this call here today, and otherwise you have to go and find the other one. And three, yeah, be proactive, basically, record keeping, etc. That's super, super useful, Mahad. I mean, we could probably ask you more questions, but I think we've covered a lot of ground. As I've said a few times already, Blockchain North is going to be producing a series of videos on crypto taxation, so that you are able to save them and rewatch them. And I'm going to now pass the mic briefly to the engineer, who's one of our loyal crypto Canadians. If you have questions, now is the time, and we'll also look at the ones that are already in the comments. The winners of the draw, by the way, will be in about 12 minutes, let's say at 1:30. The engineer, over to you. Okay, maybe he's not got his... there he is, I think. We can't hear you, the engineer. Okay. Well,
Hello?
oh yeah, we hear you now. Okay, good. Let's go.
Okay. Mine isn't crypto tax related. It's an event related, but check your messages and you can leave me towards the end.
Okay. Sounds good. It sounds like it was a bit of a promo,
Oh, Flo, I think we might have lost you.
Oh, sorry, I'm there. I'm back. My
No
bad.
problem. No problem.
I keep unmuting and remuting. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just looking at the comments right now. If you have any questions and you want to raise your hand, do this now or forever hold your peace. I'm going to go through some of the comments. One of them says, "Good day, Canucks." So good day to you, the engineer. That was our latest comment. And if you want to go and check his share in our comments, you can, of course. Diganja Baba says, "Was this a boot? Eh?" Well, it's about taxes, my friend. Very important. And so another one, and I want to make sure I read it correctly because it's not super clear to me, but it says for Ontario, you're capped for 30K to, oh, so you're capped for 30K to invest in altcoins. Is having a corporate investment exempting you for that cap? Does that, Mahad, do you understand the question?
Yeah, I do understand that
Okay.
question, and that's something that I've shared with individuals. So there is a non-institutional Canadian customer, and then there is an institutional Canadian customer. If you are a non-institutional Canadian customer, um, the Canadian Securities Administration, in particular in Ontario, says that the most that you can invest is $30,000. Okay, so there are only four provinces that this rule doesn't apply to, and those four provinces are Manitoba, Alberta, Quebec, and BC. But those individuals, you can only invest $30,000 when it comes to altcoins. Now, if you have a corporation, it's case by case basis, because in order to qualify for institutional Canadian customer, you need to be partnered with an over the counter exchange. Like for example, CoinSquare would assign you to a dedicated over a representative through their OTC. And through the OTC, you're allowed to buy more than $30,000, but they will tell you what the limit is. So it's case by case basis if you have a corporation, but if you are individual, accredited investor, as they call it, the maximum that you can invest in crypto per year is $30,000.
All right. Well, that was one question. Thank you. Very clear answer.
Mhm.
Let me see what else there is. And that was, by the way, from Nancy, who I think is still in the room. So, Nancy, you maybe still a chance to win a consultation with Mahad. We will see. And we'll announce that in 9 minutes, by the way. So, it's coming up very soon. Next question was sorry, let me just rewind here. Well, there was a question that was like, do you have a standard spreadsheet, like a kind of a template for crypto taxes? Do you share? I mean, I understand you're in the business of offering accounting services, so I don't know if you do that for free, but is there something that you can share or point people to for those
Uh,
who may need it?
Flo, no, I don't share our trade secrets. If I gave our trade secrets, then everybody would use it, right? But
Okay, yeah, of course. No, no, that makes perfect sense. Fair game, fair game. Let's see what else do we have here. I think we only have one or two left, and then we're
Can
gonna.
I ask a question?
Yes, please. I don't even know who's speaking. Oh, Crypto Goose, you're back with us. All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. Of course.
So I have a question now with all the craze with the memes. You could find yourself in a situation where you bought a token and it skyrocketed in price, and you may be subjected to a pretty massive taxable event. But if there's no liquidity in the pool, or really small liquidity, because a lot of these memes have zero liquidity, you could find yourself with a massive capital gains or a dashboard rich situation, but no liquidity cash out to pay your taxes. What do you do in that situation?
yeah, so it'll be a loss. In short answer, Crypto Goose. I'll give you a couple examples. Richard Hart's Pulse Chain, or Hex, Pulse Chain in particular, when it didn't launch and people put a lot of money and the valuation was so high, I was able to go ahead and write them off. And a client was audited as a result, and I just received the result last week, and CRA confirmed that it was a loss. So, in answering your question short, if there's no liquidity on the exchange or for that coin, then you're able to put it to zero, and I can help you with that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good news. By the way, shout out Richard Hart. Go fight the SEC, kick their ass, keep going.
Thanks, Crypto Goose. All right, great. A couple of other questions that we have. One is more a topic than a question. So, Mahad, you're going to have to try to answer this in maybe 2 minutes. So, someone says, tax treatment for borrowing against crypto, not a question, maybe a topic to cover. Do you have any quick insights on that?
So, so earlier I talked about Aave. We have a lot of clients that do Aave, Ultramix, Compound, CoinRabbit. Like people stake on Crypto.com and they receive Crow coins. When you loan or when you lend, you basically are receiving interest. In layman terms, what that amount of return that you receive for lending your coin, you have to put it on your tax return on line 12100 and as interest income, and you have to pay it as your marginal rate of tax. So that is a short answer. And it's important to understand that you basically are doing a mortgage application per se. So that comes with amortization of how much you will receive. So you understand that if you go and staking your ETH or you're lending your ETH at 7% annual premium, then you can create your own amortization schedule on Google and understand how much you'll be receiving. And this is what I've been doing for a lot of our clients that are in the flash lending business, in terms of DeFi and so forth.
Okay, great. Super clear again. Thanks for being so concise as well with your answers. That really shows you master your topic, that you're able to deliver it clearly and briefly. We're going to take one, maybe two questions, but really one, I think, coming from Mush, which is our friend Matt McMillan, if I remember correctly, with Stake It, which is an interesting Canadian project as well, related to staking, of course. Matt, over to you.
Yo, just a quick question. I buy a lot of NFTs, and I'm just wondering if my NFT, and I don't know if you've answered this already, so forgive my negligence and being late. Are NFTs a write-off?
If they have gone to zero, it is a write-off, Mush.
If I burnt them, does it still count?
That is an offline conversation. I need to know
Okay.
more.
I sent you a DM. We'll chat.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds great. Well, look, folks, I think that's it. I don't see, let me see, any other questions? I don't think so. Maybe one last one, since we have maybe 4 minutes before we wrap up here and announce the three winners. By the way, we have 3 names already, and all of you are still in the room. So stay another 3 or 4 minutes. Pamela, who asked if you had a spreadsheet, the question that she's asking here is maybe more practical. She says, can you explain the third type of taxable event you mentioned in a little bit more detail? And that was ACB.
Yeah, so it's crypto capital gain, capital loss, or ordinary income, right? So the third one is ordinary income. Ordinary income is qualified as a business income.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Well, we have to wrap up, so that works perfectly. All right, folks, I'm announcing the 3 winners in about 2 minutes. Before I do, again, a big shout out to Mahad, really relentless. You got really good stamina with answering all these questions. So congrats, thanks a lot. Great partnership with Block3 Finance, which you can go and check out. There's a link, by the way, in our pinned tweet. You don't need to retweet it anymore. We're done with that. But there is a link there to his calendar where you can book a time with Mahad for free, 30 minutes. He can answer some of your questions if they weren't answered today. Just use the code blockchain north so he knows that that's free. Otherwise, he might charge you. You don't want that. And then I was going to say Block3 Finance. Their website is block3finance.com. But if you type Block3 Finance in Google, you'll find it in 3 seconds. And that is Mahad's website. We're going to be producing 3 videos in the coming weeks. Bobby's already started working on that with Mahad. So those videos are in partnership with Block3 Finance to go a little bit deeper, to basically provide you kind of a reference. So make sure to check those out. They'll come out on our channels and on our socials. Yeah.
Flo, I just want to say thank you for the amazing work that Blockchain North is doing. In terms of educating the crypto community, you guys work hard. I see day in and day out what you guys do, and I've been following you guys for a long time. I was happy to see you guys at the Bitcoin blockchain futurist.
Yep.
I gave Bobby a hug. Bobby is and Flo, both of you are very knowledgeable when it comes to the space in terms of helping Canadians. So kudos to you guys, and I appreciate all the work that and the love that you give to Block3 Finance as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We appreciate that.
Thanks so much for the kind words. Yeah, seriously. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's it's also a whole community that we have around us. It's a team as well. I mean, Bobby and I are the, let's say, visible faces or audible faces on here on Spaces and in some of our other content. But you may have noticed that we have new short videos on TikTok, on Instagram, as well as here on X. That's our new recruit, Arun, who is doing these short, educational, fun news videos. You may have also seen Pac, who is our video editor and now is on camera as well. And you may have also noticed Nicole, who's been doing our newsletter summary video every week. So yeah, there's a whole team and a whole community. Let's announce the 3 winners. I'm just going to do a quick round to make sure that all 3 of you are still in the room. 1 is, 2 is, and all 3 of you are in the room. That's so cool. Sorry, the engineer, I saw your hand, but we have to wrap up. It is 1:30. Love right back to you, the engineer. Come back anytime and DM me if you need anything. So the first winner, and we'll be DMing you as well so that you can then get in touch with Mahad. So Chris Corium Concepts, or simply at Corium Concepts, you won a $300 credit with Block3 Finance. Make good use of it, I would say. But congratulations to you. Really excited to be able to do these giveaways. Next up, the second winner is Millie. I think I see Millie. Yeah, Millie's got the peace sign on her symbol. So Millie, also called Seat Stats. Seat Stats on X. So you won a $300 credit with Block3 Finance. Congratulations, Millie. And the last but not least, great to see you guys still on the call, is, what a fun name, Poroburu, or Netadao. You won as well a $300 credit with Block3 Finance and Mahad. Very lucky, the 3 of you, because you can tell Mahad will have a lot of great care and answers for you. And who knows, maybe that develops into some more engagement. Thank you, everyone, for having joined us and stayed over an hour and a half, one of our longest spaces, perhaps even our longest. Stay tuned for our videos. Stay tuned to Blockchain North. And also, why don't you go and give a follow to Block3 Finance? And you can also find Mahad on LinkedIn, by the way. He mentioned his blog. So go check him out. I know he'll get back to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you, everyone.
And do your taxes, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Mahad.
Thank you, Bobby, as well.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone. Bye now.